The first thing that you said to her family and to Taylor was no. So
Yes.
that is pretty interesting. So can you elaborate why? I want to start with a quick intro. So basically, for all people who have been living under a rock, I want them to know who you are and all the cool stuff that you have done.
So for me, first off, thank you for having me here. Big fan of what it is that you do. I love it when musicians' lives can get simplified, and that's what Smart Noise has done, at least for me and my clients, is very much simplified a very complicated process. Uh, yeah, so I've been in the music industry a little over 30 years, got my start in radio. Ended up creating the first ever radio tour where artists actually got paid, which put me on the radar of Big Machine Records. This was right around 2002. And in 2004, they hired me to be a West Coast regional promoter, which meant that my responsibility was about 9 different states and over 100 different radio stations that I was responsible for building relationships with. In the process of having that job, they sent me this 15-year-old little girl and said, teach her the music business. Her name happened to be Taylor Swift. 6 months after that, her family asked me to be her manager with zero management experience. And when I said no, I would not be her manager, they basically said, we're coming to you because you think different. We're coming to you because of your ideas. We're not coming to you because of your past management experience. We're coming to you because you see things a little bit different than others. Spent 2 years with Taylor, had the time of my life, but realized if I wanted to stay married and be a father to my kids, being on the road 200 days a year wasn't going to cut it. So I started consulting labels. And then after I started consulting labels, I realized that there was a lot of things that were broken in the label system. And I decided I wanted to start helping independent artists throughout the world. So I launched my own courses and online trainings and coaching. And so today I help thousands of artists all over the world. I consider myself a digital marketing strategist. I also consult major labels and have an artist that I'm managing. So that's kind of me in a nutshell right there.
Amazing. So I think that is actually something there because the first thing that you said to her family and to Taylor was no. So
Yes.
that is pretty interesting. So can you elaborate why?
Well, at the time, I thought that I was going to be asked to do a job that I wasn't qualified to do. You know, it's like if somebody says, hey, do you want to be somebody's, manager? I was like, no, I've never managed anyone before. But I didn't really understand what a manager was, I guess, because all as I knew is that there were these big wigs in town that were high profile managers. And I'm like, I'm not one of those guys. And what I learned at that point was a very valuable lesson was that some people are going to come to you for what they've seen you do, not for what they think you know. And I tell that to people in college all the time. It's like, not once has anyone ever asked me what my degree was in, what university I went to. Thank goodness, because I didn't graduate high school. I never went to college, or I would have, flunked that question. They base their actions on what they've seen you accomplish and what they've seen you do. And I didn't know that. So when they said, hey, do you want to be our manager? I was like, no, I'm not qualified to do that job. And they were like, no, no, no. You're more than qualified for what we're looking for. And that was a very valuable life lesson for me at
That
that
is
particular
funny.
point in time.
Yeah, that is funny, man. This is something that I've experienced as well, right? Where, especially in the beginning, where you don't know a lot of stuff,
Mhm.
some people might ask you, "Hey, can you do this thing for me?" And maybe they are at a position that you want to be in, and you have this feeling of like imposter syndrome. But like,
I
what if you
agree.
never took it? Like, what if you never took it, right? Like, you were
Right.
not ready, but I figure you just learned on the job what it meant, and
I
God
did.
know like the amount of skills that the years with Taylor actually gave you.
Well, one of the things that I want to share too is that it's okay not to know something. It's not okay not to be willing to go get the answers. And
Yep.
today with the internet, we have the ability to get the answers. At that time, the internet was still relatively new, but I've never been afraid to ask people for help. It's like I owe that to my artist. If they're putting their, trust in me, they better trust that if I don't have the answer, I can get the answer. And a lot of times people think not knowing is a weakness. No, not being willing to go get the answers, that is the weakness. So those are the things that I learned with Taylor. The things that I learned with Taylor is that, one, you don't have to be the best at everything as an artist in order to build a fan base. I learned that the fans want to get to know you personally. I learned, and I'm actually teaching this today at a record company as I'm doing a 2-day masterclass workshop at this record company, is that when we started posting things that showed her personality, now keep in mind, this was before Snapchat, before TikTok, before any of this. When we started seeing us sharing behind the scenes, no makeup, out having fun with her friends, that was before it was cool to do that, because at the time, everything that was coming out of the labels was perfect. All the pictures were photoshopped and airbrushed, and everything had the same font. And then all of a sudden, this girl comes out, just, here's me on the road, here's me eating whipped cream, here's me dancing in my kitchen. I'm like, she was doing that crap way before it was ever popular, but now I'm trying to encourage labels to go back to that. It's like, let the audience feel that there's some sort of connection with the artist, that there's no barrier, that there's no, the artist is on a pedestal and the fans are down here. It's like, that's the way it used to be. It's like, well, the artist shouldn't follow fans. I mean, they're the artist. I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's like, you want these people to do all this stuff for you, but you're unwilling to do anything in return. So that's one of the things I learned with Taylor, is that if you treat these people with respect, they'll change your life. And they followed her for a long time now.
And especially, even taking another huge artist as an example, but like Luis Capaldi, these past few years, and especially like on TikTok, he was already big, but he blew up even more by posting like dumb shit of him just like having fun, telling jokes and stuff. So
didn't he also have a health scare too, that he let people in on what his health problems were that were going on? He didn't try to hide it. He really kind of said, hey, let me explain why this is happening on stage. And I think that's another thing. You're right. It's like, the more they see that you're real, the better, Yeah. And I think sometimes people don't want to share that, but I think it's a mistake.
Yeah, I must say that even this past like few months, my girlfriend, soon to be wife, she got really into Taylor, and she always like give me some sort of like sneak peeks into what she's doing and stuff. And man, some of the things that she does are freaking brilliant. Like, from the lyrics that like connect one song to another, that actually gives like insights on her life. I think it's pretty brilliant. But I'm curious now. So you've obviously worked with her for a long period of time.
I only really actually worked for her for 3 years.
Well, it's enough to learn
That
about
was
stuff.
that was it. Yeah, I basically realized that it wasn't for me. I love the development stages of things, but what's interesting though is the things that we did during that short period of time, she's continued to use over time, because the thing that never changes is relationships. It's like human connection, psychology and human behavior. And I think that's what some artists will go out and do it for a split second because they think that's what they're supposed to do, and then they stop doing it. It's like the trends that are on social media. They'll do it for a week because they thought everybody else was doing it. She's just continued to do that. So if you guys leave with anything, stay consistent with who you are. I think that's a life lesson, not just a music business.
Yeah, absolutely. And between what you were doing for her and with her in terms of growing her career, do you see any sort of common, I don't necessarily want to call them strategies, but other than, hey, like what was true 10 years ago, it's true now, of like being true to fans, but like, is there any other common stuff between
authenticity? Authenticity, I think, is what is the common trend. It's like what you see is what you get. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying a second ago. A lot of times artists will portray what they think people want to see versus who they really are. It's like you don't need everyone to like you. You don't need everyone to be successful. So if you can stay true to who your audience is and be that person that they want to hang out with, that they want to get to know, instead of trying to please everyone, I think that's where the success comes from. And it's also, too, determining what success means to you. It's like there are some people that are like, I don't want to be as big as Beyonce or Jay-Z or whoever and have paparazzi following me and do all this stuff. I just want to pay my bills. I just want to write songs that influence people. So not comparing yourself to someone else and basing what's going on in your life based on the results that they're getting, and just kind of understanding what it is that you want to do. But I think the key to all of this is being true to your authentic self, because people can see through the BS. People, it's like we were joking this week, like this past weekend was CMA Fest. It's Country Music Association. All these people are here, and you see all these artists that come in, and our most popular female artist right now is Lainey Wilson. And Lainey wears bell bottoms, and Lainey wears a cowboy hat. Well, all of a sudden, we kept seeing all these young new artists coming to town with cowboy hats and bell bottoms because they think that's the It's the same way with Taylor. It was sundresses and cowboy boots. And I'm like, you're trying to chase what you think's working instead of just being true to your authentic self. The reason it worked for Lainey is because that's who she is. It's like, so yeah, be true to your authentic self. That's going to stand the test of time. That advice right there, I think.
Amazing. So I want to actually change topic almost completely here. But so between that and the stuff that you are doing right now, obviously you mentioned at the beginning that now you are huge on anything digital. So I wonder how you are taking what you learned these past 30 years and use it in the sort of more, I don't want to call it more modern work, but like in the
No, I got you.
things that are working right now.
Yeah, so technology in life means speed. Usually it's a piece of technology that will allow you to speed up the process. So the way things used to be is the only way you could get your music heard was either somebody heard it at a show, bought a CD and shared it with their friends, or it was on the radio. That was kind of it. Now, this is everyone's radio. This is everyone's video camera. So technology is our friend. It allowed us to speed things up. So what I do is I use the technology to just get my message in front of people where they are. And one of the things that I had to learn is that not all social media platforms are the same, so I can't treat them the same. I don't want to use hashtags on Instagram because it sends people away that I don't control the conversation anymore, but I need to use hashtags on TikTok because it reads the hashtags and then drops it into my For You references based on stuff that I've shown interest in. TikTok is very fast, so I'm not going to drop a 5-minute long video there. Facebook, people are a little bit slower. I can get away with something there. YouTube, people don't go to YouTube because they're in a hurry. So I can, so it's really not fighting technology or trying to make it work the way I want it to work. It's understanding it enough to say, this is what makes this work. I need to provide it this. If I want the best results from this, I need to provide it this. There is no cookie cutter model. There is no one size fits all. There is no do A, do B, do C, and the result is D. That's not the music business. We're trying to function in a business where the commodity is free, where the consumer does not have to pay for it. So ultimately, they're going to invest in the relationship. So I use technology today as a quicker way to build relationships by helping my artists get their message and their music in front of as many of the right people as possible and not just spread it out there. I like to shoot bullets. I don't like to spray it like a shotgun. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, and this is also something that I tell to a lot of people, to people on Smart Noise that I talk to, whatever. But there is one surface level that is like being aware of what type of content works for different platforms. Like I said, YouTube, you can do a 15-minute video, that's fine. On
Yep.
TikTok, maybe, but not necessarily it's the best one, right? So you have all this media going out, but then ultimately, I think we're also facing a huge shift right now, where the entire music industry is actually realizing, like, oh shit, like there are so many different platforms.
Yep.
We are sending people to streaming platforms, and we don't own anything. We use so many different platforms, we use so many different tools, but we don't own anything. We don't
I call it
own
rental
data on,
property. Yeah, I
yeah,
call it
on,
we rent the property from all these other people, and we're making their platform smarter at the expense of our marketing dollars. And that was one of
exactly.
the things that I loved about Smart Noise. Was Smart Noise did two things for me. One is artists get tired of begging people to pre-save their song every time a new song comes out. And if you're an artist that's releasing on a 6-week schedule like my artist, it's just enough already. Well, great. Smart Noise solved that problem with the lifetime pre-saves. What Smart Noise also did was it allowed me the ability to get an email address, which I now own. So I'm borrowing Smart Noise. Smart Noise is my rental property, but they've given me the ownership of the relationship that I can start building now on my own. So it solved two problems, and it was doing what a lot of other platforms wouldn't do. But now I had to teach people how to do proper email marketing. It can't be just send an email every time you need something. Then we're like that friend that just shows up when they need stuff. So it's one thing to get the information. It's another thing to know what to do with the information. And that's what I love about what you've created is you've created not only here's this cool technology, but here's some resources to show you how to best use the technology. Now that you've gotten the email, let's teach you how to create a nurture sequence. Let's teach you how to automate some messages. Let's teach you how to share something as a gift for them on the thank you page. Instead of it just being a thank you page, let's send them to an unreleased
Oh
video,
my
or let's
god. Oh,
give them, you
dude,
know what I mean? It's like,
dude,
and
you touched, yeah.
yeah, and that's what I get excited about, because I'll give you a real good example. So I told you I'm working at this record company. So I went and I signed up for all of their artists subscribe to get the latest info on me. So I gave my information. I did not get a thank you email. I did not get an email in the next couple days to start letting me learn more about this artist that it's like they totally missed the opportunity of me being willing to give them something, and they didn't take advantage of my generosity. They actually just kind of set me on a shelf. And then I didn't hear from them for about 7 days. And the next time I heard from them, it was a big, beautiful email with a nice picture of
New
the
song,
CD with some very little
of
words
course.
about what's happening. And I'm like, missed it. Totally missed the opportunity to start building a relationship. So my advice to any of you watching this, you're not bothering them by sending them a thank you email and giving them the opportunity to see one of your videos. They just said, I'm in. Here's something so personal, my email address. Now, don't abuse it. Send me something cool. Send me something here. But don't be afraid to speak to the people when they give you their email address. Just don't try to sell them all the time.
And what I also find so many artists and even record labels, like you mentioned, um, like it's incredible how they didn't have even like anything set up to like nurture the relationship with you. But even before that, what so many people, artists, record labels do, whatever, is that they just talk about them. Hey, do this thing for me
Yep.
because I just want to pre-save my new songs.
Yep.
Give me your email. Do this, do that, and but the problem is that like if you don't do anything for them, why they should do anything for you? It just doesn't
Well,
make like there is no exchange of value, and that's where a lot of
and the
artists lose.
problem that I identified, so for the last 6 weeks, I've been inside a label. A friend of mine who runs, president of the label, came in, said there's some issues. I need an outside set of eyes to come identify them, identify what those problems are. And what I identified as a problem is that there's never been any training. There's no systems and processes. So it's like they hire somebody who either just comes straight out of college, and they assume because they're young and they know how to use social media that they also know how to market on social media, which they don't. They just know how to post. Also, too, is they never bring anyone in from the outside digital world to come in and explain why things have changed. They just keep bringing people in that say, okay, I just got this job here, you're in this role. They just kept doing what the person before them did. And that person got the job and just did what the person before them did. So the next thing you know, you're doing 7-year-old stuff that's completely outdated. And that's what I get to go in and fix this week, is I need to explain to them where we were, where we are now, why. It's all psychology and human behavior. It's like if I look at the phone and I see Giovanni, I've got two things that go through my head. Either, okay, he's just going to want to talk about himself. He's just going to try to tell me all the cool shit going on in his life. I don't have time for it. I push decline. Or I look at it and go, oh, dude, every time I have a conversation with this guy, I feel inspired. I want to answer this conversation. That's the same way when an email comes from someone, is they're like, okay, they're just going to try to sell me shit. They don't even open the email to give you a chance. But the problem is they don't look at it and go, we've got a less than 1% open rate. Why? They just go, well, shit, email marketing doesn't work. We send out emails and it only gets 1%. I'm like, no, it's like we have to go in and understand why. It's like, well, we post on social and the algorithm won't let the algorithm doesn't show your stuff because you haven't shown that anybody who follows you wants to see your stuff. It's protecting itself. So everyone, they don't know how to go read the data. They don't need to go understand certain things. So the smart thing they did was bring somebody like me in to say, hey, can you help with this? You know, it's like when I started using Smart Noise for my artist, I had two things. I could either go through the tutorial videos, I could try to figure it out myself, or I could get you on the phone and say, hey, take a look at this and tell me what. I learned so much more in 15 to 20 minutes by going straight to the source versus trying to figure it out on my own. And I think so often is they're trying to figure it out on their own without going to the source. They're not going to an expert in email marketing saying, why are my emails not working? They're not going to a social media expert saying, why aren't my social media posts working? And the reason for that, when I went in and said, share with me what you do, and somebody says, my job is to come up with the ideas, shoot the content, edit the content, post the content, run the ads. I said, that's the problem. Not everyone who's creative visually understands, may not be great. So let the marketers market, let the content people shoot the content, let the social media people do the social media, let the ads people run the ads, but not everyone. I can do all of those things, but I can't do all of them well. I can do enough just to get by. But wait, if I'm an artist and I sign with a record label, do I want a marketing team that's just doing enough to get by? Or do I want to know that I got the badass experts doing the right things for me? And that's why when I go to them and I said, and I brought you up, I said, have you guys not heard of a lifetime pre-save? And I sent him my last 3 emails from Jordan. I said, on the day of release, I got this email with the click now to listen button. Guess what? None of your people did who used you're hoping that they remembered. You're hoping that they go into Spotify and open it up. I just got an email from Smart Noise reminding me to click here to listen now. And they're like, how did they do that? I'm like, if that API is available for him, it's probably available for your company too. Your company's just been doing the same dumb bullshit for the last however many years. He's just smarter than you guys because he saw that, wow, if you shift the car into this gear, it will go faster. Well, it's the same gear shifter that everybody else has. He just saw something better to do with it. So that's what kind of makes me laugh, is that everyone thinks just because they're the label that they know everything. And actually, I tell my artists who bought my courses, you have more knowledge of digital marketing than most people working at record companies right now. And I gave you that for a $97 course. You know what I'm saying? It's like they know more than the people that they're relying on. So the good news is they understand this now. and they've said, let's come in and fix it. So I don't want to go in and say what you've done is wrong and what you've done is wrong. It's like, listen, in order for us to attract the best independent artists and the best people, we have to evolve. Things have changed. Here's what those changes are. Here's how we move along with it. Not that was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong, because then they won't listen to me. So I have to go in and be nice, and
Yeah, there is often this like inability to look at the things that you are doing and trying to identify if you are the cause of the thing not working instead of the thing being the cause of it, right? Like,
right.
I was talking with this colleague of mine a few days ago for this podcast, and one of the thing was like, when people say social media ads don't work or my Instagram shadow ban me. No, it's just usually, I mean, sometimes there might be an issue, but 99% of the time, it's just because it's not that you are the problem. What you are doing is the problem, which is fine because then you can fix it.
Correct.
Right? So this is awesome. Yeah.
Well, it's understanding, like you and I talk about, why didn't it work? It's like if people like, so I get a report back and they're like, man, we had 1,783 people showed up to this landing page. It was a link fire or something. I said, yeah, but only 123 people actually went and did what you wanted it to do. So we need to figure out what caused those other 1,500 people not to move further, not just settle with, 5%. No, it's like you had almost 2,000 people show up to the party, but they didn't come in. Why? Let's figure that part out. And that's what I love about the entrepreneurial minded artist, is that they're like, okay, I know that ads allow me to get in front of a bigger audience for, minimal cost. Now what do I do to make sure that did I try to do an engagement ad or a lead gen ad before I had really done an awareness campaign? Was I asking strangers to give me information? Maybe I need to go back and dance with them a little while longer. Maybe they need to see, and that's what I've always done, is I've always tried to remove the barriers. And it's like, it doesn't matter what I want the end result to be. It matters what the person who I'm trying to reach wants the end result to be. Of course, I want everything fast. It's like, I meet you, I'm like, hey, give me your number, give me your email, give me your mother's maiden name, give me your bank account. No, just kidding. I want everything now. But I know in reality that if someone comes to me and says, hey, I need this information, the first thing I'm going to say is, you know what? Why don't I listen to the music first, and then I'll decide whether I want to give you my email, because I know you're just going to send me information about you. Before I give you my cell phone number, why don't I give you my email first and see how you handle this relationship? Because if you're going to bother me all the time in email, the last thing I'm going to do is give you my phone number, because I don't need you texting me every day with random crap. So most people aren't willing to date. They're always just trying to get laid. It's like, I'm okay dating people. I'm okay not holding your hand on the first date. I'm okay not getting a kiss on the second date. I'm okay because I'm trying to build the long-term relationship. So what I try to do is to say, hey, if you've given me your attention, which, by the way, is the most valuable thing that you can give me today, is that you took the time to say, you know what? I'm going to push play. This was interesting enough for me to want to push play. Then I'm not going to make them listen to a 40-second intro. I'm going to let them hear the hook and go, damn, this was good. Now I want to hear more. So what I'm always trying to do is be respectful of the end user. It's like, if you gave me your time, how can I fit myself and my selfish things, that, because ultimately I want you to hear my music. I want you to follow me. I want you to do all those things. But how can I do it in a way that isn't creepy, that isn't freaky, that allows me the opportunity to say, hey, let's start this relationship and kind of see what happens. Let's see where this goes first before I take the first date to try to get all this information. And I think that's what scares people too, Giovanni, is that they're afraid that if they don't try to capture everything on the first date, that they'll never get the opportunity to see this person again. And it backfires on them. I'm like, man, if you would have just let them listen to your song, who cares if it's the official sound? They heard your song. I call ads chosen marketing. When they push that button, they chose you. It was scrolling across their feed. They could have gone right on past you. But when they choose you, that's when the magic should start happening. And that's when the relationship starts. Not when they see you, but when they choose you. And that's why having tools in place and having smarter people like you that come across and create products like Smart Noise has made my job easier, because I didn't know how to get the email off the pre-save, but I knew how to build a relationship through email. So we combined both of our energies and said, oh, okay, he's got this tool that does this for me. Now let me add what I know into this tool. And now is where the magic starts to happen. I didn't have to come up with the idea myself. All I had to do was say, this solves one of the biggest problems in the industry right now. But if all I do is just use it and I don't know how to do the other part, I've missed a great opportunity, because this person just gave me the email address of the person. Spotify's never contacted me and said, hey, Rick, here's Giovanni's email. He listened to your podcast 4 times last week. No, Smart Noise gives me that email. Apple Music has never said, hey, Rick, Giovanni downloaded your song. Here's his contact information. Go build a relationship with him now. Smart Noise gives me that. And I'm not here to create a Smart Noise commercial for you. I'm just being honest. This is why it excited me, is because all the other platforms that people are spending thousands of dollars running ads to drive them to, you're just helping them build their database, and you're just helping them learn as much about your consumer instead of trying to get them to your own landing page. So instead of running an ad and sending them directly to your Spotify page, send them to your Smart Noise page, where now at least you have the ability to try to get the email address. They can choose what platform they want to go to. You can't assume that everybody who streams on Apple, streams on Deezer, streams on Tidal, streams on Spotify. Let them choose their weapon. We're trying to hand vegetarians hamburgers and say, eat. And the vegetarians are like, I don't eat meat. Well, I just missed an opportunity to feed somebody because I didn't know anything about them. So
Yeah.
use the tools, baby. Use the tools that are available to you. Become a dork about the data. Really understand the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. It's like if you're getting them to a page and they're not doing what you need them to do, maybe there's too many options. Maybe you need to have less options. If all you want them to do is stream, then don't put your website there. If all you want them to do is stream, don't put your merchandise site there, because you're giving them options for what your goal is with your marketing on that particular day. Because once you get their email address, you can send them a 15% discount code and get them to the merch store. You can invite them to come do these other things. Don't try to do too much on the first date.
Yeah. And also artists think that they need to reinvent the wheel when they want to create this connection between them and the fans. I was helping this person run this campaign, and they were sending traffic to, I believe it was Spotify, with a Smart Noise landing page. They were paying 29 cents per conversion, which is very good. But
yeah.
then the same conversation happened. Okay, this is great, but now how can we go to the next step and try to collect fans' data, which is why we want to do X, Y, and Z. I said, great, awesome. Now let's run a campaign for these lifetime pre-saves. But here's the thing. Let's make it about them and not about you. So let's come up with something. And I want to get really practical here, so people can also understand the actual strategy behind it. But what they were doing is, I think they were giving away a free CD, or they were doing a merch giveaway. So nothing crazy, actually,
Sure.
And before, they tried sending people to a page where they wanted pre-sales, but they were paying $4 each, which was pretty high. But because it was all about them, hey, do this thing for me, right? But then they switched, and they were again giving something away for free in exchange for the pre-sale, and they went from $4 per pre-sale and per email to 39 cents for every lead and every fan. So imagine paying 39 cents for one email to get a person to save all your future releases, to send them emails automatically, and finally own the data.
Yep.
Like, and that's just you going from it's all about me to now it's all about you.
Right, because the pre-save was the most selfish thing in the world. It's like, here, do this, sign away your rights that everybody.
I was never a fan, dude. I was never.
I never did it. I never did it.
Yeah.
You know. But also too, as I tell people, I said, what's the goal of the pre-save? They say, well, I need as many people to pre-save my song as possible. I'm like, great. So how about after they pre-save it, you send them the song? They're like, what? I'm like, why don't you let them hear the song before everybody else? That's now, it's like, whoa. But won't they not go, doesn't matter. You got what you wanted. You know what I mean? It's like if your goal was to get the pre-save because now you've got the email, let them hear the song before everybody else. I would do that. You know, let them have a demo of the song. Let them hear the original work tape of the song. Let them see an exclusive behind the scenes video of what went on to the making of that particular song. Give them some merch, you know, give them a discount, give them something. But you're right. You've got to give them something because it's about them. It's not about you.
Giving value is never a risk. There is never a risk in giving something away for free.
No, right? Never. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So awesome, dude. So it's been almost 40 minutes. I believe these 40 minutes are like a full packed course, basically, like so much info. That was awesome, and it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Any final word where people can find you if you have
just hit me up on
Instagram?
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram. It's been on the screen at Rick Barker Music. Shoot me a message, let me know where you found me. Also too, as I'm using a new device called Plod. So Plod is the size of a credit card, and Plod just recorded this whole entire conversation. And in a matter of 2 minutes, I will have a complete summary, a list of notes, all the bullet points of what we talked about. So I will share this with you, Giovanni, and I'm going to show the people today at the record company when I say put down your notepad, because I want people to be able to hear me when I talk. I don't want them writing and thinking about all these different things, but I'll send this to you. You'll laugh hysterically, because before I would have to do the voice recorder, I would have to put it in Happy Scribe, I would have to put it in Chat GPT to get my notes and get all my stuff. This does it all in one, so I'll send it along to you. And if anybody would like the notes from this conversation, hit me up on Instagram, and here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have you give me your email to tell you where to send these notes. So I'm going to practice, and I'm going to use a platform called InstaChamp that's going to say, just DM the keyword SMART for Smart Noise. You get it? Just comment the keyword SMART. Then you give me your email. I'll send you the notes, and then I'll put you in a nurture sequence, and I'll start building this relationship with you. So we're going to show you in real time how the two of us kind of work by practicing what it is that we preach, because there's a lot of teachers out there that talk a good talk, but they can't back it up. And that's one of the things that I love about Giovanni and his company, is that he identified a problem, he created the solution, but then he didn't wait for people to come find the solution. Now he's out there. I see his sponsored Instagram posts show up on my page all the time. So he's spending money, his own money, teaching you exactly what it is that he's doing himself. So for that, my friend, I applaud you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man. That was fun as always.